The Secretary-General of NATO in conversation, raising some very key points here. How does Ukraine figure now as we have this conflict in the Middle East, and the message there from Rutte, effectively, NATO is in the business of complexity. I thought that was very key. Now, Steve's been telling us this morning that the US and its participation, its engagement with NATO is key. That was also touched on today by Rutte. The other big point, and I thought this was fascinating, and I'm sure Steve will get into the weeds on this, about the recruitment of personnel as we're bolstering defence spending in Europe, how we recruit the right soldiers. And Germany was given as an example, 50 to 60,000 odd people needed to be recruited in coming years as they try and bolster defences. Of course, conscription, not the option at this stage, but natural recruitment. So let's get out to Steve for more on these very deep topics being debated at the NATO summit in The Hague. Steve.
Yeah, but absolutely, Karen. Some great points you just hit on there as well. The difficulties of recruitment. Let's just get to that as well. The British Army, which has a very, very solid history, of course, has seen diminished numbers over a very long time, partly because of defence reviews from first the Conservative government and now the Labour government, but partly because they just cannot get the recruitment for those key regiments as well. It's the same problem in Germany as well with the Bundeswehr as well, because the Bundeswehr, of course, as we know, is trying to get up as well. And I think hire some in the region of 60,000 troops. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of young people just do not want to be soldiers, airmen, and in the Navy as well. So there are a lot of issues about actually those recruitment levels and the salaries for soldiers. When we think about military capacity, we often talk about the air defence systems, the submarines, the fighters and what have you. But we don't necessarily just talk about actually the recruits and the difficulty of making salaries attractive for those recruits as well. The key issue, though, he raised, and the key issue he's been asked about a lot and is going to get asked about a lot because he spent all his time on this, is keeping the US engaged. And I thought Mark Rutte, the Secretary-General's answer, was actually very, very interesting there, talking about keeping the US engaged. The fact is, despite all those concerns, and they happened under Biden, they happened under Trump 45, they happened under Obama, they've been happening this entire century as well. The fact of the matter is, various US presidents have talked about the various commitments around the world and the need for others to do more heavy lifting. And I have to say, Mark Rutte used to have this reputation as the Dutch Prime Minister of being Teflon coated as well. Teflon Mark, i.e. he managed to survive every single crisis and oscillation in Dutch politics. That's why he's one of the most seasoned diplomats in Europe. And one of the reasons why he got this job as the Secretary-General of NATO, taking over from Jens Stoltenberg, because it's an incredibly difficult assignment as well, given the fact that there is this concern about the US and its engagement. And I think, actually, if he pulls it off this weekend, that is a quite extraordinary achievement as well. The fact that the US could walk away from here happy that it has got its goal of keeping the Europeans spending more money. They spent a lot more money, by the way, since 2018. I think we're talking somewhere in the region of $500 billion more spending. I think spending's up to circa 55% in total in that last 7-year period as well. But they want more, and this 5% target, it sounds extraordinary. And I'll just say one more time as well, because I keep hearing it. 5% is not necessarily 5%. It's 3.5% in pure military defence spending terms, plus another 1.5% in associated infrastructure. And the Secretary-General was alluding to it there as well. No doubt about it, Europe needs to spend more. But the success or failure of this meeting will be about keeping Donald Trump's engagement as well. Let's be brutally honest. He walked away from the G7 a day early. Maybe it was to deal with geopolitical issues. Maybe he was just fed up with the agenda. Maybe he was fed up with Macron and what he did on his stopover in Greenland as well. But we're going to get plenty more voices on this throughout the next couple of days.